Okay, great. Okay, this is the East Lyme Board of Education meeting for July 13th, 2020. We called the meeting to order at 5:04. We went into an executive session for the purpose of discussion of professional contract negotiations. We are out of executive session now. And we're now on item 2B, and that is recognition of Grant Place and students that did so much fantastic work in pulling together the all the videos for the graduation.
Would you not stay on the door?
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, definitely. Let me just first remind everyone, if you could just kindly mute your lines unless called upon. I appreciate that. And wanted to start off this meeting really with thanking some individuals with a Viking valor. As we all know, high school graduation was a major challenge this year for our students, but also being able to put together the whole experience itself. We had some returning students along with Grant Place, or students actually who have left us and graduated that returned, that helped us out with the whole process and the videotaping. And we really wanted to say a thank you. And I know Grant, I got a late email from him. He had a family commitment that came up. So he couldn't join us tonight. Unless, Grant, I don't see you out there, but if you're there, give a holler. If not, no problem. All right, I don't hear Grant. So Stefan, Victoria, and Austin. I see Stefan, I see Victoria. Austin, are you out there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Great. Hey, listen, I just personally, as a superintendent, want to say thank you to the three of you. Your efforts, your expertise, wonderful. We really appreciate, everything you did to make sure we had an excellent high school graduation. And we just wanted to recognize the three of you. We hope to continue to use your services as we move forward with different things. So thanks for coming back and still being part of the East Lyme family. You're always welcome. So thank you. So I don't know if any board members wanted to say anything on behalf of the high school graduation to Stefan, Austin, or Victoria.
Anybody? Eric?
I just want to thank
Eric and then Candace.
Okay. Oh, just real, I want to thank you. I know there was a lot of work going in trying to figure out how to do this, the whole high school graduation, and still make it special for the seniors. And the work that you did make it special. I was at the site, and I think the Pfizer site where we broadcast and showcased it, and really a top-notch job. That's how I left. I was like, wow, this is pretty special. It's actually better, my kids graduated last year, and the couple of years before, I was like, wow, I would love to have that kind of keepsake for myself. So it was really, really well done. I know it's a ton of work to get that done. So really appreciate all three of your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, Candace, do you have something to add?
Just a ditto. You guys did an incredible job. Thank you very much. We might be hitting you up for next year.
We have some certificates that we will be sharing with the three of you and with Mr. Place as well. So thanks again. Hopefully you all have a nice summer, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay. All right.
Welcome
Thanks
to stay on, but you don't have to stay after the meeting.
Okay, that brings us now to our public comment portion of our meeting. And I know that we have representatives from the East Lyme faction, I guess, of the Black Lives Matter group that are online. Is there one person that's a particular spokesperson that would like to address the board?
There will be a number of spokespeople who will be addressing the board.
Oh,
I can go first if now's the time.
Ben, that's great. Just a question. I just want to have a sense of time. Usually, and we're not going to. Usually, we limit the time for public comment to a very short period of time. I know you have a presentation of some sort to present. Do you have a rough estimate as to how much time that you folks will need?
Sure. So we have at least four. We have 4 prepared speeches that are limited to 5 minutes. That was our understanding of the public speaking format.
Okay.
We also have we'll be sending along a document with more details on each from afterwards.
Okay, so there's going to be 4 people speaking, each at about 5 minutes?
Yes, that's what we've prepared.
Okay, perfect, Ben. Thank you. Okay,
If-
so
if other-
please.
If other members want to speak, then that they may, obviously. Yeah.
So Ben, could you just state your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Ben Ostrowski. Where I live currently?
Mhm.
So I live at 63 Sleepy Hollow Road, Niantic, Connecticut.
Okay. Okay, good.
Any other information? Okay.
No, that's it.
All right. So, hello, everyone. Yeah. So we represent East Lyme for Black Lives Matter, which is an organization composed of East Lyme community members, including East Lyme Public School students, alumni, parents, teachers, and more. Our nearly 400 active members are split into 3 subcommittees, which work to make positive change in the arenas of schooling, event planning, and housing, policing, and community services. We hope you're aware of the racism that looms over this town, and if you're not, we will provide you pages and pages of testimonials from your students, teachers, and parents to provide evidence. We've already begun and are fully prepared to continue to do the work necessary to reduce racism's effects in East Lyme. We come before you today as true voices of the town to present proposals that will positively impact the East Lyme public school system and make East Lyme a more inclusive place where racism is no longer taught or tolerated. Each of our proposals are evidence-based in 2 ways. First, they are supported empirically by historical data and modeled after similar towns' actions, displaying their feasibility and effectiveness. Second, they are supported qualitatively by numerous testimonials from East Lyme citizens, including current and ex-East Lyme Public School students, their parents, and their teachers. We urge you not to deny this change directly called for by your students, who are priority 1. Of note, we are a large organization with diversified knowledge, skills, and areas of expertise, in addition to the perspectives and voices of people of color that have long gone unheard in East Lyme. Thus, we have accompanied each of our proposals with action items that we as an organization will complete to help you implement these proposals. As just one example, there is a critical need for more books on anti-racism to be taught in schools. We understand that you may cite budgetary concerns as barriers to implementation, so we will raise the money to buy books for a class. We are both passionately motivated and logistically informed. East Lyme has not been a leader in the realm of social justice, but it has a chance to catch up. Historically, East Lyme Public Schools has not taken into account the necessary perspectives of people of color. We want to bring those perspectives right to your doorstep, along with concrete methods of incorporating them into policy to effect positive change. When our representatives speak, listen to their format. They present the current problems, they formulate solutions, and then they present how we will help you implement those solutions. Reporters from the Day newspaper are here, numerous community members are in attendance, and your responses to tonight's proposals will be made well known. In other words, the town is watching, so do not let this golden opportunity that we place before you to go to waste. Please listen closely to each of their following presentations and be prepared to engage with the document outlining each proposal in detail that you will receive via email following this meeting. Thank you.
Who would like to speak next? Is it Nikki?
It is me, thank you. My name is Nikki Padilla. My address is 19 Stonywood Drive in Niantic. I am a long-term East Lyme resident, and I grew up here. I attended East Lyme Public Schools from K through 8, and I returned after college to raise my family. I have 2 school-age children. I am a former New London public school teacher. I worked in Holocaust education, and I'm currently an adjunct professor at Mitchell College. And I worked with, I'm currently one of the heads of the school subcommittee for East Lyme for Black Lives Matter. And I have worked with the East Lyme public school teachers in the Encountering Survivors program at the high school. I know that East Lyme public school teachers are some of the most dedicated and passionate and spending their summers preparing for a school year like no other. And I know that we are focused on reopening schools, and having a COVID plan in place is on the forefront of everyone's mind. However, because of our current social and political climate, racial incidents at schools are expected to increase. Nationally, we're already seeing this happen, as we watched in horror over the 4th of July weekend incident in Indiana, where a man was, a white man is accused of yelling at a black man, "Get the noose," and pinning him against a tree. This comes after nooses were found hanging in Las Vegas, Portland, Oregon, Baltimore, and follows 5 black men hanging from trees in California, New York, Texas, and New Jersey. And to think that it's not going to happen in East Lyme is just naive, especially when there have been plenty of reports of racial slurs at East Lyme High School football games and racist incidents right on school property. It's not even to mention the mental health impact that results from students witnessing these acts. For instance, within a week of the video showing the death of George Floyd, anxiety and depression among African Americans shot up to 41%. So it is paramount to have a plan in place to address these issues now. Essentially, there are 2 safety concerns to focus on at reopening: COVID and racism. East Lyme for Black Lives Matter has had the opportunity as a group to gather testimonials from current students and alumni, interviewing some at length. In addition to testimonials reporting some overt racist acts, students of color have reported ongoing incidents such as classmates touching their hair without permission. Do you think that East Lyme public school teachers are currently equipped to handle this type of microaggression? Do you think that all staff would identify this behavior as microaggression and know how to respond? There needs to be a universal message sent by all staff that racist incidents will not be tolerated, and staff needs to feel comfortable relaying this message. In meeting with the diversity committee at the high school, a group made up of several teachers, the 2 vice principals, Jeff Newton, and several teachers shared that they feel that they do not know how to address blatant racism, microaggressions, or even questions and discussions on race within their classrooms. One teacher shared that when asked by a student during a Zoom class to discuss George Floyd and what was happening currently in our country, she froze and had no idea how to respond. During these meetings, much discussion centered around the teacher's need to receive training and professional development in the area of anti-racism. Teachers are asking for this training and are very open to having professional development in the area of anti-racism prior to the start of school. And we understand that 4 days have been set aside prior to the start of school for professional development. And so we propose that sometime during the fall of 2020, a mandatory full or half day of training focused on anti-racism for all staff members, including security, custodial and cafeteria staff, athletic coaches, bus drivers, as well as administration. We would also like to have this training available for members of the Board of Ed so that all adults associated with East Lyme Public Schools are sending the same message to students, and so that they feel equipped to educate and discuss the subject of anti-racism. We also ask that time is taken to discuss incorporating people of color and cultural competence within the curriculum in all classroom subjects. This is a task that East Lyme Public School teachers have already taken on. They simply need the time carved out to do so, either during PLCs or department meetings or what have you. And here's how we can help as a group, East Lyme for Black Lives Matter. We can bring in alumni to provide testimonials or give speeches. We're in the process of creating a training video of testimonials. We can provide suggestions for a common read for teachers and staff prior to the start of the school year. We can provide resources from national and local organizations, as well as current virtual trainings that are being offered for free. We are hoping that in providing these testimonials, specific proposals and resources and support from our group, that implementing these changes within the school system will be more streamlined. We look forward to working together to improve the East Lyme public school system and to help to better prepare all in handling topics of race within our schools.
Very good. Thank you, Nikki. Very well said. Who is next to go? Ben?
I would like to speak next, if that's okay.
Good. Serena?
And my address, do you need my address?
Yeah, and your last name, please.
Okay, my name is Serena Valentine, and my address is 94 Society Road, Niantic, Connecticut.
Great. Thank you.
So, my name is Serena Valentine, and I graduated from East Lyme High School in 2016. During Spirit Week, my senior year, the fall semester of 2015, there was a disturbing racist incident. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the event, I will describe it. During the senior tailgate on campus before school hours, several white students draped a rope around the neck of a black student to imitate a lynching situation. The students took a picture of the fake lynching and posted it on Instagram. Not only did this blatantly racist act occur on school grounds, but there was a large Confederate flag proudly displayed by other students at the tailgate as well. These actions were observed by the school administration, and what did they do in response? They asked a 17-year-old black student how she wanted the situation to be handled, a student who is actually on this call right now and has spoken publicly about this incident. But why would the adult leaders of the school have to approach a young student for guidance on this issue? The answer is because there is no policy or protocol that outlines how to deal with issues specifically of racism in the East Lyme public school system. When you look at the table of contents in the high school student handbook, there are sections outlining several issues such as bullying, sexual harassment, drugs, weapons, and even public displays of affection, but there is no section labeled racism. This means that there is no official disciplinary protocol outlined for those who engage in racist behavior at school. Issues of racism cannot always fit in the category of something like bullying, so teachers and administrators do not know how to respond when racism occurs at school. To quote the East Lyme High School Student Handbook, bullying is defined as any overt acts by a student or group of students directed more than once in a school year against another student with the intent to ridicule, harass, humiliate, or intimidate the other student while on school grounds, at a school-sponsored activity, or on a school bus. The bullying policy includes verbal taunts, name-calling or put-downs, including taunts based on ethnicity, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or other protected and/or individual characteristics. However, none of the previously stated definitions of bullying in the policy fit the description of something like the fake lynching situation or the Confederate flag on school grounds. Even if it did, bullying is not listed under the zero tolerance section of the handbook. So offenders will not be disciplined consistently or even at all in certain cases. But the zero tolerance behaviors that are listed include possession of weapons, hate crimes, possession of drugs and alcohol, assault, possession of drug paraphernalia, initiation or hazing, threats involving possible bodily harm, pulling a false alarm or bomb threat, and vandalism. This list excludes behaviors such as bullying and racism that can be extremely taxing on mental health, but are apparently not worthy of zero tolerance status in the schools. The exclusion of an anti-racist policy has left a huge gray area that resulted in the inappropriate response to obvious racism 5 years ago, and has most likely made it easy for other incidents to go unnoticed or unreported. For these reasons, we are proposing the immediate implementation of a zero tolerance policy against racism specifically, with the inclusion of microaggressions and racist symbols, as well as the development of an anonymous racism reporting portal for students and teachers to report offenses they see at school. Members of the East Lyme for Black Lives Matter group have the skills and resources to develop a portal of this kind. We are also ready to provide examples of existing anti-racism policies for reference and inspiration in this process. This policy would also mean that teachers are mandatory reporters of any racist incidents they witness and would receive mandatory reporter training just as they already do regarding victims of abuse. The implementation of these policies would ensure that victims of racism in the school system are taken seriously and offenders are met with specific and consistent disciplinary action. Racism is a threat to the safe and productive learning environment that is encouraged in the East Lyme public school system, and it should be treated like that. In addition to the changes to the zero tolerance policy to include acts of racism, we also propose a learning-based discipline process that is long overdue in the East Lyme public school system to be implemented and fully adhered to. In response to student acts violating school code, the East Lyme Public School Handbook states, through an individualized problem-solving process, which incorporates appropriate alternative behavioral procedures, students and their families will try to set up a productive plan to prevent unwanted behaviors from occurring again. This is the only line that discusses learning-based discipline, a form of discipline proven to be effective in improving future behavior. And this sentence's wording, while well-intentioned, must be fine-tuned and made more specific for racist-based offenses. Punishment-based disciplinary measures that do not incorporate learning about racism merely place a temporary Band-Aid on the wound rather than working to the root of the problem. Thus, we propose a change in the handbook to officially incorporate a disciplinary plan for students enacting racism. This plan should entail attending mandatory diversity training workshops and programs during suspension, consuming anti-racist reading and viewing material, and presenting a summary of learning and goals moving forward in order to be reinstated. In addition, reports of racist incidents should be compiled at year's end, reported to the Board of Education, and made available to the public for full transparency. To help you implement this change, we will provide examples of learning-based disciplinary plans from comparable school systems, along with anti-racism reading and viewing material to be consumed by students during suspension and/or prior to reinstatement. As with the other proposals, we have stated the problem, formulated a solution, and provided a method of enacting that solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. Very well done. Next.
Hi, I'm Annalise Lapidus, and my address is 39 Romagna Road, Niantic, Connecticut.
Thank you.
So my name is Annalise Lapidus, and I graduated from East Lyme High School in 2016. If you were to guess what percentage of teachers in East Lyme Public Schools are people of color? As of the 2019-2020 school year, 97.1% of East Lyme Public School teachers are white, meaning 2.9% are people of color. This statistic reflects the existence of an ineffective minority recruitment plan and the subsequent need for increased diversity among the faculty and staff of East Lyme Public Schools. It sheds light on the urgent need to review and revamp the plan adopted on November 23, 1998. For reference, this semi-outdated minority recruitment plan has not been amended since the year that I was born. The existing version of the minority recruitment plan states that it, quote, shall provide for an energetic effort to attract talented minority educators and other minority personnel to serve in available positions within the East Lyme schools. We believe that it is officially time to meet this level of energetic effort written here, including specific means to reach the ends we wish to see. Diverse teachers and staff, exposing all students and parents to unique perspectives, cultures, and opportunities to positively influence their racial socialization. Schools are a place where students not only engage in academic learning, but are supposed to learn life skills necessary after cycling through East Lyme Public Schools. So you might be wondering how improving the effectiveness of the minority recruitment plan will benefit the student body of East Lyme. For students of color, the psychological benefits of seeing their identities in their teachers that can have a lasting positive impact. In East Lyme for Black Lives Matter's collection of testimonials, one parent stated, quote, as a white parent of a Black son, I know that having some professional Black figures in our son's life would have ensured a more sound sense of self for him. Did you know that Black students who have one Black teacher by 3rd grade were 13% more likely to enroll in college? And Black students who had 2 Black teachers, 32% more likely. Along with a few of my peers, I attended the Regional Multicultural Magnet School in New London for K through 5th grade. When transitioning from a school with multiple faculty of color who explicitly valued multiculturalism to East Lyme Public Schools, The difference was impossible to miss. I am grateful for the diverse RMMS faculty, as this shaped me into who I am today. But not all students of color get to experience looking up to teachers who represent them, a comfort that could inspire their futures. From 6th through 12th grade, I only had one teacher of color, which is more than some of my former classmates even. And one of the few Black staff members at Eastlyme High School is my mom, who was hired just 7 years ago. She's told me about the look of joyful surprise of Black students that walk into A250 and see her there, a solidarity that I and my other peers of color recognize at a predominantly white school. A new minority recruitment plan will benefit the majority white students of Eastlyme as well by exposing them to diversity, combating biases, and improving race relations and open-mindedness. From testimonials we collected from Eastlyme for Black Lives Matter members, alumni expressed disappointment in not having a Black teacher until college, as they would have gained greater cultural competency earlier on. Interacting with teachers and staff of color allows white students to learn from the much needed outside perspectives of people from different backgrounds. Revamping the minority recruitment plan and being held accountable for following through with its responsibilities brings diversity to Eastlyme Public Schools and the town itself. While recruitment of minority staff to Eastlyme is difficult due to its exclusive environment, enacting our complete set of proposals will increase the town's inclusivity and thus facilitate minority staff recruitment. Additionally, there is a minority recruitment plan at the state level that can be adopted by our district as well. We urge you to update this policy to include detailed and informative action steps, as well as for it to be one that is consistently reviewed and acted upon, a policy that is actually and truly effective in creating better, more welcoming schools and community. We are ready to take the next steps to become an agenda item on the next Board of Education meeting in order to engage in active discussion with you of our proposals regarding policy, training, and hiring. So we as a group would like to know exactly what are the specific steps that we can take so that we are able to work together to foster productive change for Eastlyme Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalise. Very well done. Ben, is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of Black Lives Matter?
Well, just to that last point, we're just hoping to you can give us concrete steps on how to get on the proposal or on the agenda for next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah. So let me so this is a public comment section. I know every board member is ready to engage right now, but it was very well said. The quality of the information that was passed was exceptional. What will happen is that later on in this board meeting, we will have an opportunity to have some discussion about what future agenda topics the board should will address. And I'm sure that there will be discussion about what we will do as a board in the next steps going forward. We also have planned a retreat for July 28th, it is, Jeff? It's the 28th, right? Of July 28th, where we have, as Ben, I think as you said earlier, we have an enormous number of items that the board has come forward with, dealing with things that ranging from the COVID-19 to our complete changing into a blended learning model, all the way to diversity and racism as well across, and then there's 8-9 other items as well. So we will be addressing the prioritization during that board retreat. So I think that the best thing is for us to go through this process. I can't anticipate what the board will want to do later on in this meeting when we have that opportunity to discuss future agenda topics. You're welcome to stay on and listen and hear that conversation. It probably will take us about 45 minutes probably about 45 minutes or so to get to that point. Because we do have a lot of topics. The other alternative would be if you can reach out to our superintendent, and he will be glad to give you a briefing as to what the next steps the board has adopted. So that's kind of the process in going forward. And I know I want to thank you. And the other point is that you did say you had this the information that you gave, the speeches, You have written materials that if that is available, if you can get that directly to our superintendent for distribution to the board members, that would be very, very much appreciated. Because I think the quality of the information that you shared with us was absolutely outstanding. So if is that relatively clear?
Yeah, I'll be sending the document with the proposals and testimonials that to Jacqueline, and then I guess that'll be distributed to the board. I'll also talk to Mr. Newton about getting on the meeting. I mean,
and if for some, Ben, and just to say another thing, if for some reason, again, I don't know, I can't predict where the board's mind is going to be completely around this, but if for some reason it's not acceptable to you folks in terms of what we're doing, you certainly can speak at our next board meeting during public comment to say we're not happy, or I hope, or even to say that you're happy with the board action. So you always can reach out and come forward and voice follow-up opinions on the board action during public comment. So, okay, good. So with that, we do have another request for public comment, and that's from Scott Mahon. And Scott, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Tim.
Yep. So please, your name and address and affiliation.
Sure, thanks. Scott Mahon, 11 Birch Hill Road, Lyme. And I am speaking on behalf of the East Lyme Teachers Association this evening. I'd like to speak to you about the proposed calendar change that I believe you'll be discussing and voting on in the near future. School districts across the nation are under great pressure to open their doors to their children and their communities so that they can reconnect with friends and teachers and all that they have missed in our schools for many months now. The national conversation about reopening has been generating more questions than answers, more concerns than solutions, more uncertain terrain than clear paths. As a part of the reopening task force, I am honored to work alongside my peers and colleagues as we create our own plans for opening our schools. This is a Herculean effort, and we are working to solve those issues. But many questions and concerns have been voiced by both families and educators about the safety of returning. I am hopeful that we can begin the year as normally as possible. To the extent that there has been discussion on changing the calendar to move a portion of the existing professional development days that are scheduled throughout the school year to the beginning of the school year, there is general agreement among our membership that could be useful to some extent, provided that the start date for teachers remains August 24th. As you all know, our contract requires that teachers begin the school year one day prior to the student's return. We are certainly open to exploring a possible memorandum of understanding to move some of our PD days to the beginning of the year as long as the first teacher day remains August 24th. We think there are any number of ways in which this could be done and are happy to explore this further. I believe the logistics committee of the reopening task force has ideas that they have shared concerning PD days as well. The East Lyme Teachers Association is committed to starting this new and unprecedented school year, prepared with the tools necessary to connect with our students and to create an environment in which they feel safe and free to pursue their learning in a variety of settings. We look forward to discussing options to provide teachers with the resources to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Was there anyone else, Scott, that was interested in speaking on behalf of the teachers?
I'm not sure. I think there are some people on, but I left that up to them.
Okay. Okay, so I guess seeing none or hearing none, I think that then concludes the public comment section for this meeting. Okay, so we'll move on. Let's see, we have the approval of our minutes from the June 22nd, 2020 meeting, which was a regularly scheduled meeting. Would anybody like to make a motion on those minutes?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regularly scheduled June 22nd Board of Ed meeting.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Candace seconds it. Any corrections, modifications to those minutes? I think everybody, everybody was there for the meeting, so. Anybody? Nope, okay. Everybody all those in favor of approval of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Does anybody oppose? Are there any abstentions? Okay, those pass unanimously. That brings us to special reports, and I did see Mr. Nickerson, our first selectman, somewhere. I don't see him now. Mark, are you out there? No. Try, Mark, if you're on mute, unmute. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe he wasn't on. Jeff, did you see?
I saw him pop on.
I saw him. He was there.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was-
Okay.
he was on.
Okay, so maybe he had another commitment that he had to
Oh,
go
yeah.
to.
I don't see him in the room anymore.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so there's no special reports. That brings us to our discussion action items for the evening, and the first one up for discussion action is a proposed East Lyme Public Schools paraprofessional contract, which has been something that's been in the works for quite some time, and certainly want to thank everybody who's been involved, in particular the two board members, Candace and Jamie, for the amount of time that they put in on working on that. Jeff, do you want to say a few words?
A quick highlight or overview. I mean, I like to start off too, thanking Jamie and Candace, and also thanking all of our paraprofessionals, across the district, and the committee that they had formed to, out of the gate, really build the first ever para contract. That's a Herculean effort to start from zero or from scratch, I should say, and create a full working document. A lot of dialogue, a lot of back and forth. And I think in the end, we really tried to find a fair contract that meets the needs of both the district as well as meeting the needs of our paraprofessionals who we value and appreciate their service across our district. So all of our Board of Ed members had a chance to review the contract, and we're looking for approval for this evening so we can put this behind us and move on with the first ever para negotiated contract.
Okay, so with that, Jamie, would you like to make a motion?
Would. It was a lot of hard work, but we did it. And so I would like to make a motion to approve the Board of Education proposed East Lyme Public Schools paraprofessionals contract from July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2022.
Okay, Candace, you want to second it? Candace seconds it. Any other discussion, comment on this item before we vote? No. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Does anybody oppose the motion? Does anybody want to abstain? Okay, so it passes unanimously. And once again, great job, everybody, for making that happen. That's a lot of work to do that. Okay, so we'll move on to our next discussion item under Finance, Facilities, and Communities, and that's the proposed substitute rates for 2020-21 school year. Jeff, you want to?
Sure. So hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at the proposed increased rates as we mapped it out over the coming year, or next few years, I should say. Of particular importance with this document, you can see some increases there. So fairly hefty increases as it pertains to paying folks. But the main reason for a lot of that is specifically because of minimum wage and the increases that we're seeing across the state with minimum wage going up. So we need to make sure we stay aligned against minimum wage. And also, we want the best people, in our district subbing with our students. That's what's most important. We've worked very well with Kelly Services. They've done great for us, and we look forward to continuing to work with them. But we need to increase some rates moving forward to make sure we stay ahead of minimum wage. Mariana is here. If you have any specific questions as well, pertaining to the percentages or dollar amounts.
Any questions from any board members on the proposal? Anybody? Eric?
Just a comment, because I exchanged emails with Jeff and you brought it up, is when I did see the numbers, I did take a little bit of a step back of saying, wow, those are some big increases, but they're in line with what we need to do. They're in line with the what's going on with minimum wage. So, you know, it seems to make sense, and it's really important that we do get the best subs. So thanks, Jeff.
Good. All right. So with that then, anybody want to make a motion on the proposed rate schedule?
I will. I would like to recommend that the Board of Ed approve the proposed substitute rates for the 2021 school year as presented.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Candace seconds it. Any more discussion on this item before we vote? Buddy? Nope. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Does anybody oppose the motion? Does anybody want to abstain? Okay, so that passes. Okay, so move on to our next big item, number 8, is under instruction. First item up is the ESY update. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, we wanted to give an update on, ESY. And first and foremost, I just want to publicly thank, Kim Davis and, the Cheryl, Felix, and Jen Van Duzen, who are 2 special education coordinators, and all of the ESY staff. But, Kim has just, done an outstanding job putting this together, this ESY program. We're one of the very few school districts that is doing an on-site summer program. I inaccurately stated, I forget where it was, maybe it was in my update, that we had 60 students on site. We have over 100 students that are coming on site. And complying with, mask wearing and doing a great job. And that's kudos to, how Kim structured this and the planning that went into it. So she's here. I'm going to let her kind of just talk a little bit briefly about, how it's going. And, we're looking forward to getting on site on Wednesday. Amy and I are going to go walk and tour. We've left them alone for a week as they've been underway now. They're into their 2nd week, but we're planning on going over Wednesday. So Kim, I'm going to turn it over to you just for an update.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Thanks for giving me a few minutes tonight, everybody. It's really exciting to consider that on June 1st, we got reopening guidance from the state about what a summer program could look like. And just to reiterate for us, what summer means is extended school year services, or most commonly called ESY, offered to students who have IEPs. And it's a recommendation that their IEP team makes on their behalf due to the danger of regression or the development of a critical skill, critical life skill, and a variety of details go into that. But of our 425 students who have IEPs, this year we have 110 students participating in person on campus, Monday through Thursday, between the middle school and Haynes. We have about 66 staff members, including nurses, related service providers, myself as an administrator, teachers, and paras, working with those 110 students. We have 15 teachers working virtually with 55 students. We're providing related services, including speech, occupational therapy, both in person and virtually. And we are using 8 bus vehicles from First Student, a combination of a large bus and small vans for 28 students riding the bus. We have 3 paraprofessionals serving in the role of bus monitors, and the remaining 5 are First Student employees. So we have a wealth of activity happening. The kids came in last week with smiles on their faces, and I could tell because their eyes were crinkling, even though I couldn't see their cute little mouths because they did have their masks on. You wouldn't believe the prints and the emblems on the masks. I've seen everything from SpongeBob SquarePants to unicorns with the name embroidered right here on the cheek so that you could tell the difference between 2 twins in preschool. So we have quite a collection of mask wearers. I set the tone in my ESY staff meeting that wearing a mask was a new skill for students, as is using hand sanitizer and remaining 6 feet apart from their friends and their teachers, and that we are teachers. And so it was our job to teach that as a skill and not just expect compliance right out of the gate. And so that our tone for the whole of ESY is about learning how to be a student in a new circumstance. And I think the staff are doing a fabulous job of carrying that forward. I am not hearing disciplinary tones around sort of the COVID safeguards. I am hearing supportive and encouragement and nurturing guidance for students. We have social stories going on, which are like short statements with picture support cues for students who need that level of support. And we have other students just processing through if they have questions. We have little tickets students can turn in if they'd like to have a mask break, and we have an identified area in the classroom to take your mask off and have a break. A timer is set, and then you go back to what you're doing. Kids are going outside often to have a snack and be able to take their masks off. So there's a variety of support. Successful experience for our students. We've received a few positive emails from parents that their students were really sort of withering under the virtual instruction, and being back at school has made all the difference. Their mood is improved at home. They're smiling more. They're ready to get up and go to school in the morning. I mean, it's been 4 days, but still, I think it's an important 4 days. And so, you know, for all of the, preparation and questions that went into play, I think we've really, kind of come out on the other side and seen that at least in a small scale, we can bring kids back to campus, and we can do it, so far, so good, successfully. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I would be happy to answer them now or offline, but, I just can't thank Jeff and Amy and Mariana and Chris Lund for their support and helping to bring it all together, because it definitely is a team effort. I'm just going to go back to saying, remember, the guidance came out on June 1st, and we opened our doors on July 6th. So we took, a month and turned it around and brought kids on campus. So it's really exciting.
Board members have any questions or comments? Kate. Kate's raised her hand.
Hi, Kim and everyone. I'm just wondering a couple of things. 3 questions. Are you doing temperature checks? And the kids who aren't riding the buses, because you said 8 vehicles and 28 students riding the bus when you have 100 kids in total, how are the other kids getting to school? And then my third one is, what have you seen as far as regression and kids getting back on board being in the facilities on campus?
Yeah, sure. We strongly encouraged parents to drive their students to and from school if at all possible. Because as you know, the social distancing measures put a pretty big strain on ridership. So on the small vehicle, you can only have 3 students sitting in a zigzag pattern with a bus monitor and a bus driver. So, usually those vehicles fit 10 students. So we have many parents driving, and that's going well. We have established traffic patterns. For temperature checks, we followed a process that was allowable for daycare centers, which is that the parents take the child's temperature at home, and I have them filling out what we're calling a health screening ticket every morning. So it has the 9 most common symptoms of COVID-19 plus a box that says no symptoms, a place to record the temperature reading, and then the name of the student and the name of the person who completed the form. Those tickets are presented to the staff as the student either exits the car or exits the bus. And then they're checked again by me as soon as kids are in place and the arrival process is complete. If a student has a temperature recorded of 99, we send them to the nurse for a double check just to be on the safe side, but the exclusion temperature is 100 degrees 0.4 when a student would be excluded from school. So we do have that in place. And then regression, so far, so good. One of our students who I had multiple conversations with teachers over the period of the spring who was not doing well at all with his virtual instruction. Last week, they were able to work with him through his program book and found that he had maintained all of his skills. Even though he hadn't necessarily moved forward with the virtual instruction, he had retained what he had been taught. So that was really great. That's just one anecdote. I'm sure there's varying degrees of that, Kate, but you know, we're working slowly through that process. We asked the teachers to focus on adjustment, social, emotional, and community support as the students came in last week. And so they slowly are ramping up into the academic, you know, instruction. Because remember, it's a 3-hour day, 8:30 to 11:30 is what they're attending.
Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Jeff, anything else to add?
No, I just am amazed, you know, what a great job, you know, that they really have done. And, you know, it's just the positive comments from parents have been super. So we look forward to continuing it, you know, through July. And, you know, it's prepping us as a district for, you know, what it's going to look like with having all kids back, you know, in the fall. So I think it's a good test, and kids have done well.
I did have one question, and that had to do with, there obviously is more cost associated with what we're doing with the program. Are we somehow keeping track of that in terms of whatever the future holds in terms of reimbursements from states? You know, I have no idea, you know, whatever, but is there any sense of just with this little very short beginning?
No, absolutely. Kim, Mariana, you want to talk about, you know, some of the components that you've put in place, at least for ESY so far, and they'll carry over for the rest of us as we move through the year.
Sure. So where currently Kim's summer school program is all charged into one account. So that's easy enough to ascertain the cost, and everyone has been instructed when they're submitting their requisitions, if it's COVID related, to note that it's COVID related. I had a conversation with the state right now. Right now, the only thing reimbursable for FEMA is protective measures such as masks, you know, sanitizing wipes. There's a variety of things. I spoke with the public assistance officer, so he's very helpful. So I am going to start submitting quarterly FEMA reimbursements. That's what he recommended. So we'll be able to do that. But Tim, like additional staffing and things like that, those aren't things that right now are FEMA eligible. So wow. Yeah, we have some of the CARES Act money, and then there's like a third pot, if you will, outside of FEMA, but that's at the governor's discretion. So not sure.
You know, it's just one of these things where we're going to need, as a board, monitor where we are extremely carefully, because obviously what we projected for a budget, and given what's before us, we probably are going to run out of money. Yes. And so we need to keep track of it, and then start the dialogue at the town level in terms of where we're at with the budget and what we would do if we started to project that we're going to be, you know, $100,000 over budget, you know, even higher. I was surprised last week. I had an opportunity to hear Cynthia Ritchie, who's the superintendent for New London, and she is projecting for New London for next year that the cost of reopening their schools is going to be in excess of $2.8 million. So, and I don't know, you know, and so that is you know, so I suspect that we're not going to be that much, but on the other hand, it's going to certainly be more than what we can basically handle. So it's something where I think we just need to, this is just a reason to kind of say we really need to have a system in place that we know exactly where we're at with the budget. So
Tim, just to add to that, I think we really should be focusing on regular updates to the Board of Finance, keeping them in the loop. I know Mariana mentioned the CARES Act funding. You know, we've already looked at various methods of using that money. So there are going to be some costs, definitely. So it's not going to be 8 million, no, that's for sure. But got a couple $100,000 potentially. So we'll see where we're at. Especially we'll know more in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right.
Mariana, may I ask you a question, please? It's Jill Carini. Is there any way you can just get us a summary of what monies we have available in what accounts like CARES, FEMA, that we're ever going to be able to access? I'm just wondering what kind of cushions we have out there.
So right now, the only known dollars is 171,000 and change of CARES Act money. We are eligible for FEMA reimbursement, and that's based on 75% of the eligible items. I'm going to submit for the quarter ending June 30th, which isn't too much of an expense right now. We don't have a huge amount. I can't answer for the next quarter just because we're still working on the reopening plan. Once we have an idea of what we're going to need and things we're going to be putting in place with the reopening plan, then I can certainly submit for once we pay for it, because FEMA works on a reimbursement basis. So until the money is spent and paid for, then I could submit for reimbursement. But that amount I wouldn't know until we know exactly what we'll need to purchase. And then the third of funding is, again, at the governor's discretion. There's not even an application for that out yet.
So you saying we do not know how to access it or get it?
We do not have an application yet for that third piece of it.
Because that process has not been put in place. Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay. All right, should we move on? The next item is update on the reopening of the schools. Jeff, I know you've got hordes of people working on this.
Yeah, we really do. This has just been the work of the district nonstop. We have all been in this knee deep, and for the right reasons. We have a plan that we have to develop. As everybody knows, by July 24th. So we are feverishly working on that. We have our 5 subcommittees. I'll just mention those again that are working, in a vast number of staff across the district, teachers, paras, admin, obviously, are all engaged in these 5 committees. So the first one being, the communications committee, the SEL committee, working on the social emotional side of things, the instructional pathways committee, which is our largest committee, big focus, with blended learning components and all the curricular work and technology integration that's going on and preparations for hybrid model or remote learning. Then the logistics committee and the operations committee. So a few of our kind of leaders of some of these committees are with us tonight. I'm going to kind of let each of them give a quick, brief overview. But let me just share with the board. I'm sure you hopefully had a chance to look at this, but I'm just going to share my screen for a second and show you this document here. This was as part of the 50-page state guidelines that were provided for the plan. On page 8 of those guidelines was this document. It was a link embedded in. It wasn't like it was an actual attach. It was a link. So you had to click on the link. This is basically, the requirements of what we need to do. So what we did administratively was take, all these components that need to occur, all of these requirements. We took each one of these bullets and we've split them up amongst our 5 subcommittees. So as you scroll through here, you've got communications plan. This is some of our group, the communications group, is working on some of those components. You've got facilities. So this is the operations component. Kristalyn will talk about this in just a minute. Daily operations, child nutrition, transportation. We have a separate bus group that Kim, myself, and some of our other folks that are part of working with First Student, Mariana being one of them, are working on. Low transmission risk, moderate transmission risk. What are we doing in those, in those senses? So hopefully you had a chance to look at this. I won't go through the whole thing, but we broke this all up into the 5 committees. So each one is responding in writing to each of these bulleted areas. And that's going to be a lot of the body of our plan that we are bringing forth as to what we'll be submitting to the state. As I mentioned, it's a working breathing document. So what we send to the state could look a little bit different as we move forward and things continue to evolve and to change. So with that being said, communication wise, is a brief update. We have got a great committee. Lee Giannakis has been co-chairing that committee with myself and Chris Olson. We have a parent, Ryan Schrader, has been part of that committee, and a handful of staff members as well. So we are, what the core of our work right now is kind of looking at, okay, what is going to be our main methods of communicating out, to parents, and where are we directing them to? So long story short, we're using the website as our key tool. But how often, what is it going to be, and when, sort of thing. So we are working on those components. And then we turn it over to, well, why don't we start, Amy, you want to jump in on our biggest committee, the blended learning, then we'll go to, Chris Lund and Kim, you and I can kind of round it out with SEL and logistics a little bit. Amy, you want to talk a little bit about some of the work of the largest committee in the district?
Sure. And committee I've enjoyed working with. We actually had our 7th meeting today. It is crunch week for my committee in the sense that we are hitting our last 2 meetings this Wednesday and Friday. I have the privilege of working with altogether 69 stakeholders. I've become very well versed in breakout rooms and really aligning the groups. We basically have taken the work and broken it into 3 channels, if you will, if you think about it. We have one group that's working for planning for active learning. So how do we plan the instruction that we want to be providing to students? We have another channel that's working on student services and a couple different topics that are under that. And then we have another channel that is just solely focused on active learning, which is where that blended learning work, as well as some of the cultural competency work, comes into play. So we have really been functioning in 3 channels for our work, and actually we're beginning to get in some elementary, middle, high coordinated work and starting to get into specifics as we think about the instructional pathways. We've really taken the presence through all of this planning of thinking about pathways as far as that, we're calling it, brick and then brick to click and then click, and sort of planning accordingly and getting as much feedback from all of our stakeholders as possible as far as really cohesively trying to build. There will be 3 different products that come out of the committee. One will be a logic model developed for each of the channels. So, what's our outcomes as far as short, mid, long-term outcomes for our planning of instruction, as well as active learning and student services. And then we also will obviously have the blended instructional framework. And then we will also be identifying an elementary, middle, high expectations as far as what it would look like in a hybrid and remote model across the district and getting that feedback. So I am forever indebted to my committee members. I have pushed, we've done a lot of reading, a lot of research on best practice, and it's been really intense, positive work. And Kim Davis and Scott Mahon have been right there along the way with me. And we have been trying to figure it all out the best way that we possibly can. So it's been great work.
Thanks, Amy. Hey, Chris Lund, you want to give us an update on the facilities and our operations group, I should say?
I sure will. So good evening, everyone. And whereas Amy and her group are starting to come to the end of their work, we in the operations group are really starting to pick up. We've only met twice, and there's 25 of us. And part of the reason behind that is we need a lot of the outputs from the other committees before we can do a lot. A lot of our tasking are, although we're operations, I would call a lot of it is technically logistics type support functions. So the biggest piece of the puzzles being, the custodial cleaning and disinfecting and PPE right now, as well as some of the smaller programs, smaller only by a number of people. So for example, Chris Urban and his food service is a massive undertaking. and he's in our group as well, putting together quite the plan, mostly by himself. Not too many other experts that can help him, but he's doing a great job. We have before and after care. We have the creative play, preschool, and building usage, and the tech, and everything else. So a whole lot of different functions, but we're picking and choosing the low-hanging fruit and those things that we can do ahead of time as we wait for those other outputs and working through the plan. I never thought that my previous experience in industrial disinfectant products would come into use again, but I've been shopping and I have contacts, and I can get 10,000 gallons of bleach at a pop, or 500 gallons of hand sanitizer. So it's been quite an interesting endeavor so far. My office is turning into a little warehouse. So if anybody has any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But we're sort of building things, waiting for those other outputs, and using the ESY has been a great petri dish, I guess, for lack of a better term, for some of our practices. And I see Kim taking exception to that. But so far, so good.
Thanks, Chris. You want to talk where some of our dollars are going, right there, along with, plexiglass and, purchasing of things of that nature. So
For the term dress rehearsal, Mr. Lund.
Yeah, you didn't like guinea pigs either, I know.
Chris, do you have a sense of how much additional staff you're going to need on opening day for custodial requirements?
So I have a meeting tomorrow with all the head custodians, and I asked them to bring a plan based on current staffing as to how we would address what happens during the day itself. So I think there's a couple issues, and I actually asked Amy for some of the contacts for some of the additional support that they use for temp staffing and whatnot, and I have to reach out to those companies. It's hard to say right now without seeing, the products that are coming out of the other committee. For example, I've talked to, each of the schools about, we'll just use just one example. Where are we eating? Are we eating in the classrooms? Are we eating in the cafeteria? Are we eating everywhere possible so we can be socially distanced? So each of those has a different set of constraints and different needs. So I can't really say what that's going to be yet.
Okay, good.
Just one thing with that, Tim, too, and Chris, I don't know if you just want to mention, we talked recently about, through the budget process, we talked about holding off on, replacing a high school custodian as well as a 0.5 Niantic Center position. But we're feeling that, sooner than later, this is something we really need to bring forward sooner than waiting. So we're going to need those individuals. So I know, Chris, you're already starting to work on that, correct?
That's out. Actually, if you look, those applications are open right now.
There you go. Yeah. So we're gonna need those staff members. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. The SEL component, a lot of the same work. We've had Kim and I are co-chairs of that one with Chris Olson. We've had a few meetings now. The committee has been working through, the bullets and formulating some responses. Kim has provided some excellent resources as well that committee members are referring to. Kim, anything specific on some of those, the CASEL competencies or any of the other specific resources?
We're grounding our work in CASEL, the Collaboration for Academic, Social, Emotional Learning, which is sort of the agreed upon industry standard for educators around what is social and emotional learning and, how to teach it. So we're using anchor documents that they're releasing around reopening and supporting students and staff. It's not just about the kids, we have an adult planning component to our committee as well. And then also, looking for sort of a toolbox, if you will, for teachers to have available to them as they return to the buildings, and some professional development around grounding everyone in a trauma-informed approach, just to sort of have that level of understanding that not all behavior comes straight out of noncompliance or frustration. There could be some other underlying factors, and for some students and adults, this experience of being home during the pandemic could have been traumatic. Doesn't mean it was for everyone, but we want to make sure we take that into account as we plan to move forward.
Thanks, Kim. And just lastly, quick, Jeff Provost and Chris Marjak, who is the para-union president, the two of them are co-chairing the logistics committee. So basically, a lot of that work is around, the scheduling components and looking, across the schools at the schedules. There's some crossover between, operations and logistics. We're coming to that point. We found, today we've got to engage in some conversations across committees, so we're not replicating or doing each other's work sort of thing. So the plan is, the subcommittees will all be finishing up their work, this week, and it is all due up here at central office on the 20th, which is, next Monday, and then we will be combing through and putting together the final product for submittal on the 24th. It's a lot of information, but we wanted to kind of give you an overview of where things stand and what's been occurring with this work. This has been everything we've been doing all summer long.
Candace?
Thank you all for all the work that you're doing. I just have a quick question, actually a few. I'm hearing a lot of hesitancy in regards to returning back to school, both from families, from teachers. So how are you and your committees connecting with that population to kind of hear what their questions are, what their fears are, and how the district is going to help them come back safely?
One component of that, Candace, is surveying them. So we have kind of gone back and forth. Some districts have already sent out a survey asking, parents and staff whether or not they're coming back. We've held off for right now. We're thinking about maybe waiting because, August 1 is right around the corner. And the plan submittal is right around the corner for this. We thought about getting our plan together, pushing our plan out to the community, letting our parents see the plan, and kind of doing more, of a summary sheet as to what is the expectations of how we're going to be rolling and applying these components, and then surveying parents to see, okay, after seeing what our plan is, now what do you think? Do you think you plan to send your child to school? Same thing with staff to see. We've heard a couple different things from staff members, but for the most part, hopefully we're seeing all of them return. But that is right around the beginning of August work. We're thinking is how we're going to roll that out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's great. I'm going to just say that I would think that you may want to do it beforehand. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm hearing a tremendous amount. I feel like there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, I'm not going to send my children back to school. I'm hearing it from the teachers as well, that they're afraid to come into school. And everybody knows, that I'm a caseworker, and I went from non-essential to essential overnight, and I've been in it. So there's a lot of legitimacy there with, I think, fear of coming back and maybe getting sick, and or peers getting sick, or how are we going to facilitate all these things? And lots of people have had the ability to read the guidelines, right, that came down from the state. And I got through not even one page, and I'm like, how is that going to work? How are we going to implement these guidelines? So I feel like you need a little bit more of a connection before you go and put a plan out. That's just my opinion. I'm one of 10. That's all.
Candace, I would agree with that. What I'm hearing from other boards is that they're anticipating somewhere between 10 to 15% of the children will not be returning to school in their district.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting too.
Yeah, and and again, it's probably best to start to get some indication on that in going forward. The other thing is, Jeff, are we going to survey on who's going to drive their kids to school versus buses?
Yeah, that would be part of the parent survey, Tim, to ask that question. In seeing what other districts did receive back for the most recent surveys that some of them had put out, and some have done it, some have not. We're in that not category now. They got a lot of I'm not sure yet. I need to know more is what they got for responses. So they're going to end up having to survey them again. So that's where we were kind of stuck. Well, you know what? Let's put it in front of them. This is the plan. This is what we have for you. What do you think now? And then work through those singletons to say, that's not going to work for us. But, you know, you could kind of lean either direction with this. You know, I have a survey ready to go sort of thing. It's just we held off because we felt, you know, thinking maybe we would push the plan out first.
Okay, good. Jamie, you got your hand up?
My question's no bounds. So I'm in agreement with, we want to talk to our staff before we put out a plan. I know our morale is in the tank right now. Everybody's down, everybody's tired, everybody's exhausted, and they're scared, they're nervous, their mental health is at the breaking point. And then throwing something at them without getting any input from them, I think would just completely topple it over. We definitely need feedback from them before we say, hey, FYI, you're coming to school this day and that's all there is to it, and there's nothing around, nothing you can do, nothing you can say, that's what we're expecting of you. I think that's a little harsh and a little cruel, and we definitely should get their input on what that opening of school is going to look like before we tell them what it's going to look like. And then my second thing is a little controversial, but, and I know we have to send our kids back to school, and I know school is opening, but when are we having a board meeting in person? If we're saying to our parents and our teachers and our staff that it's safe for them to go back to school, why isn't it safe for us to be in a boardroom?
Jamie, that's a good question. I mean, we're just this morning, we're having similar conversations about meetings. We need to start having our meetings, you know, in person amongst our administration and so forth. So
if it's safe enough for those little Johnny and Jane to get on a bus and go to school and sit in a class,
you're right.
Peers, why isn't it safe for us to sit in a boardroom?
Something we can definitely, you know, talk further about. I know we polled the board regarding the 28th with the board retreat, and there was still some concern about, you know, meeting in person, but, you know, maybe that's changed some. I don't know. Well, we can keep asking that question.
I don't think we have a choice. If we're making teachers go to work and we're making other people go to work, I think if we're expecting it of them, we should expect it out of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ditto that more. I mean, I actually am one of the ones that said I have no problem meeting in person. Again, I've been at this every single day and then some at double time since March. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of different safety concerns and things you have to do that normally, no, I would not have to do. And I think that we need to get back to seeing each other in person, especially if in a few weeks, this district is going to move forward and say, everybody's coming back.
Kate, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think communication is really important, and sometimes just a robocall out to everybody, Jeff, might be in your best interest, just to say, hey, we're in process, we're thinking about it, want you to know that want, you know, your child's best interest in mind and trying to figure out the best way to do it. And I agree with both Candace and Jamie that a survey earlier rather than later releases and diminishes so much anxiety. I've worked a lot with highly anxious people my whole life, and they don't do well if they don't know what's going on. They like a game plan, they like a roadmap, they like to have an idea. Even if the idea gets changed somewhere down the road, you have to start someplace. And then my next question is transportation being reimbursed? Do we plan on that as part of that? And then for SEL, I think SEL, so the social emotional learning that's going on that Kim talked about, and that I think Amy, you talked about it a little bit. I think we need to include more than just what's COVID. Black Lives Matter and the death of George Floyd and the protests going on in the city and everything else that's going on in our society. It's not just COVID. It's, and I've talked about this before, we have 3 pandemics going on right now. We have the economic pandemic, we have the COVID-19, and then we also have Black Lives Matter and what's going on with racial inequities. And the other thing I just wanted to bring up real quickly is I think there needs to be messages that go out, because when I'm out on the, like even the other night, I was over at the high school in the evening for another reason, and there's kids not practicing social distancing and they're not wearing masks, and they are on our fields practicing playing. And if we're thinking that COVID-19 is done and that we're over this first hurdle, The information that we're getting from Ledge Light indicates otherwise. And I think that now more than anything, we just need to be really, really careful. But I applaud all of you, and and don't misunderstand me that I'm being critical or trying to be harsh, but I too want what's best for our kids and want safety, and there's a lot going on. So I applaud all of you for your arduous work and your efforts. So
I appreciate the feedback, Kate. Thank you.
Okay, anything more, Jeff, on that?
No, that's where we're at as of right now. Again, we'll take that under advisement for sure, because again, we've been on the fence. It's time to we're right at the cusp of more communication going out. We just don't want to confuse people with multiple messaging. We've heard that on the other side too. I just was on the phone last Wednesday night with a parent who said, you just need to call me because I can't take any more of the emails and the messages coming to me. So I called them and I talked through that, I talked with them about that. And they said, we're trying to streamline that. Our communications committee is looking at that because you're right. A lot of messages do go out and it can be confusing. So we're trying to do a better job, of that. But there's a lot of information we're also trying to get out as well. So we are setting up, with staff, and we're going to, plan on doing it for parents as well. The once a week communication out at 4 o'clock for staff every Thursday. So that starts this week, for staff. We did that back when we closed as an emergency procedure to keep people updated. They can expect that every Thursday, 4 o'clock. Here's information that's going on for the week. So we're going to do that the same thing with parents as well. That's all I have. Thanks for the committee members for giving out some reports. Appreciate that.
Good. Okay, that brings us to our last item for discussion, and that's the upcoming board retreat that'll be on July 28th. As you saw, there was a kind of a list of things that Jeff and I had been hearing. That we compiled, and some of the board members responded back, and they added some more things to the list. And all that is just trying to accumulate things that are on the minds of the board members in terms of what we should be thinking about as a board, what the administration is obviously thinking about and working on, so that we can then go through some sort of process on the 28th where we can have a conversation around all of the items that are on the list and try to decide on priorities and emphasis in going forward. And again, it's something where I would suspect that this is going to be a pretty dynamic year for the board and the administration team, because things will be changing. Hopefully for the best. But things will be it'll be a pretty dynamic time. So I suspect that it's important for us to have these types of conversations in going forward. So Jeff, do you have anything you wanted to say?
No, Tim, I think that was it. This is just out of the gate, kind of brainstorming. More things might come forward to add to the list, but we just were looking for a place to start, let people think and look at, what's been out there, some things we've discussed, things from the past, things that have come up recently. So if there's more, great, but we look forward to kind of working to prioritize the list on the 28th.
Jeff, this is Jill. Tim, I was wondering if we could put Black Lives Matters on that list.
I think it's under diversity. We have diversity efforts, Jill, on there, but if we want to, we could add to it or single that out specifically. That's fine. Works for me.
Yeah, I would agree, Jill. I would say we should have racism listed on the list for sure.
Why don't we put it?
Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's get it on there.
We'll add it in.
Okay,
right.
I guess is what I'm saying. It's one. I mean, it's the three. Well, I don't want to say the three issues. We have COVID. We have the economy. We have Black Lives Matter, and I know we're missing some other popular not popular, but current movement. But I can't remember current in society. So, I know gun violence. That's what I'm talking about. But gun violence has been with us for a long, long time. but I think those are two important issues.
Yeah, I think we've got the gun violence on the, I think it's on the list.
Yeah, it's on there.
Well,
Yeah, I remember
I
writing it
looked at it
down.
about an hour ago. I can't remember, sorry, but anyway.
Yep, that's okay. Yeah, that's part of the issue is that there's 15 or 16 items. Eric, you got your hand up.
Just wanted to, so Jeff, you mentioned we're prioritizing on the 28th, or we're prioritizing going into the 28th? So my only question, that's a lot of stuff there. We could spend, 40 hours discussing. It would seem like some of the items would rise to the top. I don't know if we want to vote, or I don't know how you want to do it, but it seems like we should try to tackle 2 or 3 big items and be real happy that we can tackle 2 or 3 big items. So I don't know how we're going to get to that, but I don't want to spend any time on the 28th first going through a prioritization discussion, or ideally not.
So I thought what we would do, and again, perhaps we can get Amy to help us a little bit too, because she's pretty good at doing these things. But so Amy,
I forewarned her.
Okay, that's it. I wanted to see a smile. So
I'm going to facilitate her so we can work.
But the idea is exactly where Jeff and I just started talking about the prep work. But what's important is that we basically do some sort of a triage on the list with the board members independently feeding into us where they're, in some sort of process of doing it, but what items they think are most critical for the board to be addressing, and which items obviously are less critical, so we can have a triage, and so we can go into the meeting on the 28th with just what you were saying. Here's the top 3 things that came to the list. Let's talk about those 3 things and what we would want to, how we would want to try to address them.
But Tim, what are we going to do with the rest of the things on the list? Because I agree, they're all very, very important.
You can't, yeah, well, that's where we'll be having a conversation, but you can't talk about 15 things in one meeting. We have to have some sense of saying which are going to be the top ones that we're going to focus on.
But are we going to continue to work down on that list or go down? I mean, because they're all important issues.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I just don't want those, I'm assuming we're not going to sweep those under the rug if we're not, because my interest, obviously my interest is for the education system, but something that's really a hot button for me may not be for everyone else.
Yep. Well, but that's part of the importance of having a 10-member board, in the sense that those conversations we will hopefully come to an agreement as to which things are we going to focus on first, and what are we going to do as a board. So, yep.
Hey, Tim.
Did I saw John?
Yeah, I think it's pivotal that we take a look at the group's proposal at a full extent and really review it during the retreat. I think that's pivotal at this time. So.
Okay. Other comments?
I'll go. Tim.
I'm sorry. Candace and then Kate.
No worries. I will piggyback on John. From the little bit that I've already heard from the group, it sounds as though I can't speak for all of our board members, but I can speak for me, and I can only imagine that most of them are in agreement, but I can't speak for you guys. That we've already had conversations about pulling the policies, not just to review them, but to revise them, already going in certain different directions to integrate different other multicultural tools and lots of different things that we can do to set a new tone here in East Lyme. I know that I'm listening and paying attention. I'm hearing a tremendous amount, and I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like some of the experiences that our kids have had. And I, again, want to set a new tone, and that tone comes from us, and then it goes into into all our schools. So I think that it is an important topic, clearly. I do think that it's something that needs to be on the top of the list, in addition to reentry. And I think that one of the kids that had spoken had made a comment in regards to, I'm sitting outside, I'm sorry, the race issues, and upon kids coming back into the school, I believe that this is going to be an issue, and we need to be prepared for that, and have training, diversity training for our teachers, and to set a tone within the school that it's not tolerated in any way, shape, or form, and then create the policies, if we don't have them, revise the policies to reflect those things. So that is on the top, clearly for me. There is a lot, there's a tremendous amount on that list. One of them is the pre-K that I've been talking about for a long time. I think that it would definitely be beneficial, but at this point, that isn't really at the top of the list for conversation, I think, even though it is a priority. It is something clearly I want to see, and I think that it would benefit our district greatly. Advertising, marketing, all these different things are still there. It's just right now, number one is this reentry with ensuring safety for our teachers, for our students. And yes, this racism, we have to address it. That's all.
I agree. Kate, you've got your hand up.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think the Be Smart program is really important. I had a conversation with Chief Finkelstein not too long ago, and he also feels like gun safety is important. Modeling good gun practice is important. Storing your gun in a locked cabinet is important. Storing your ammunition in a locked cabinet is important. And that's the kind of thing that we need to look at from a policy point of view and also from a district point of view, and helping our kids to be safe. If we have our kids wear seat belts or safety belts, then we also need to have them be aware and be smart about having guns, using guns, knowing about parents' use of guns. And also, I'm really a strong proponent of what we can do for anti-racism and also bias. There's a spot where everybody can look, and it's called the National Museum of African American History and Culture. They've got free training. They have videos that you can watch, and you can already get on the experience of understanding what racism is and what bias is, and how it's something that's so universal and we can't deny it. It's so important.
Good. Any other comments on the board retreat that we're planning? Barry, get your hand up.
Yeah, just one quick one, Tim. As I reviewed it and all the problems that we brought up, that we can never discuss all these items, and I tried to figure out how we got in this position. And I think there's kind of woven through each of these ideas an issue of like how we prevent ourselves from getting in this position again. Because I reviewed many of the items, and I could go back into dates and times months and months ago where specific items were brought up, but somehow they kind of keep getting kicked down the road, kicked down the road, kicked down the road. So now we're in a point where we have 15 items. So somehow we have to address the issue of how we got here in this situation and how we can prevent from getting in this situation in the future.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Bill, do you have any perspective?
Yeah, well, I just, first off, with the issue on racism and all that, I certainly think that, well, I think the presenters tonight were absolutely incredible, just an amazing group of people, and very eloquent, well prepared. But as we go into this this meeting that we're planning for, it would be nice to have some data from Jeff with regard to what all the committees have kind of on a piece of paper. And I also want to get the information from Ben. It sounds like they've done a lot of the work. We've just, and they're willing to do more of the work. So it's a matter of, let's take a look and make sure we fully understand what's already in place, so it might be easier to implement than we thought, instead of talking in circles about something where clearly they're a well-organized group, intelligent people. We should put them to work for us and help us solve the problem, instead of us talking it through.
Mhm. Good point. Very good point, Bill. Eric, you raised your hand. You're on mute, Eric.
Yes, it seems like our this is turning into also board comments. So I had some thoughts on board comments. I think I'm going to just bring them up here because it's all about the same topic. And you know, I do want to say I appreciate you know, the people who spoke today. You know, so articulate, so well thought out. Just very good. And it makes me think, and I really appreciate it. I wrote down 3 notes, and I think I missed one of what some of your asks were. And so if whatever I miss, I just want to make sure, because this is what we probably need for our board retreat, is some of the things. So you talked about how we handle when there is a racism issue, punishment, whatever. Like how do we take care of that, whether it's that we have a policy or something around racism and I guess what we do as a result of that. I heard, and again, sorry, my words are not exactly perfect. I heard about the professional development for teachers, and so that they can understand about racism and how to discuss it and have good arguments. I struggle with it at times. I'm still learning and reading and stuff. So, I mean, the more I try to read and educate myself, but I'm not as educated as I should be. So I'm sure they're in the same situation, or there's a number of people who are in the same situation. So, you know, the more we can do, but that was another ask. The third ask was around the number of minority teachers that we have, and that we have 2.x%. I don't remember what, but it's a very low amount. I assume in proportion to other districts, that sounds like we must be pretty low in terms of area districts and stuff. So that was another, is what can we do to enable our hiring practices to attract more top talent who are minorities as well. So what can we do to do that? I think I missed one because I thought there were 4 and I missed one. But those are, I think we need to make those lists and make sure that, and Ben, I guess when you send that out, we'll be able to get the 4th. But, you know, I think those are important, that as we go to our board retreat, these are well thought out ideas, and I like them. So I think we need to address those. So thank you.
Well said, Eric. Very good. Just to put out a couple of thoughts here, because what we're doing is it's okay under the item of preparing for the board retreat. I was going to propose or recommend, and in terms of what we heard from the Black Lives Matters folks, that we ask the policy subcommittee to convene as quickly as we can, and have that committee review the information that is written information that is just that is given to us, and just what Eric was kind of going through it, and distill it down so that we can say, here's what we have, here's what we're hearing from their suggestions, and also then and have, that'll also give an opportunity for the administration to say, yes, this is where, yes, we agree with this. This is something we are already doing. This is something we haven't done, and really kind of have that conversation. I think the policy committee is the right place. And of course, it is a public meeting, so people can sit, can join us in it and listen in, so to speak. And we also, since there's 3 of us on the policy committee, Jamie, is that right? That we could have a couple of other board members participate as well if there's passion around doing that. But that was the thinking that I had. Jeff, I don't know if you've given more thought as to next steps forward with that item.
Yeah, I mean, definitely policy's one. We need to look at that for sure. So we were in the midst of, Jamie, I think we were planning on that date.
We're trying, but I can't do 4 o'clock because that's when I get out of work.
All right.
So I just have to, by the time, I can do 5. If people want to meet for policy at 5, I can do that. I just cannot do 4 because I can't drive and have a policy meeting at the same time.
We don't want you doing that, no.
I can't drive and do a policy meeting at the same time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so we'll keep, I'll talk with Jackie tomorrow. We can set up for any time. We'll make 5, whatever time. So that's got to be step number 1. I think this absolutely takes precedence. It also ties in, as Amy mentioned, in the cultural competencies component, as part of our instruction moving forward too. So the two kind of blend and merge together. So, it definitely should be at the top of one of the items at the top of the list. And, we've been having some meetings, Ben, and the East Lyme Black Lives Matter group. We've been meeting on every week. I've participated in one now. We canceled today's meeting, but knowing that we were going to be at the board tonight, but we're planning on next Monday having that again. So I'll be working and talking with Ben, and can be kind of a conduit between the Board of Ed, and them as well as it pertains to the documents.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeff, can you let Ben or some representative with that group know when the policy meeting is, if they have the ability to sit in?
Absolutely. It's a public
I would
meeting.
appreciate that.
It's always made available.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yep. All right, so go ahead. Jeff?
So can I just make a suggestion? Because I'm pretty sure that I know what the board's top 3 is out of this list. But can we all just put in like our list of importance and get them to Jeff or Tim before our meeting? I mean, I'm pretty sure what our top 3 is, but I don't really want to spend an hour at our board retreat figuring out what our top 3 is. So if we could kind of put this in our priority list and get it to you or Jeff beforehand.
What I would like, what I wish is that we're going to modify the list there's been a little more input as to what the list is. Okay. And I think we're going to do some work, it'll be very easy to do. Send the list back out to all the board members. Is there anything else that anybody wants on the list? And then we will send out to the board members a simple way of filling in what your top priorities are and any comments that you want to make. So then we can have all that collated and then feed it back to everybody and say, well, this is what we're going to be talking about at the board retreat. And, does that sound?
No, that's fine. Usually we spend the beginning part of our meeting figuring out what our top 10 things are for the year. I'm pretty sure that this list of 28 or something like that can be better prioritized.
Yep, so that's what we will.
Remotely, instead of spending so much time doing it together.
Yes, we will do that. And I think that's pretty easy to do, right, Amy? Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, let's see. Was there anybody else? Kate, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I remember last year, Tim, when you oriented me to the board when I was a new board member. I really appreciated that. And a lot of the comments that you made, you were talking about being a good board member and the kinds of things that we need to do. And some of it sounded to me like, we're kind of more of a visionary and a guiding principle for the superintendent and for the staff and the faculty. And don't misunderstand me, but sometimes I feel like we might get into the minutia of things where I think that our superintendent and our administrators are fully capable and able to complete whatever it is without hearing our little 2 cents on every little thing. Given that, would it be possible? I know the document that you gave me on that day, perhaps we could send that out as an attachment also so that people would know that was who we are and what we do, and not getting caught up into little things, because I think these guys are really good at a lot of the smaller things, as evidenced by our meeting tonight. But sometimes it's the bigger issues that we need to really pay attention and focus on.
Okay, well said. Okay, Barry?
Tim, just one last thing. I will try to make this quick, but since we've been talking about the Black Lives Matter issue, I was going to bring this up later, but I will continue it right now. I'm going to request Ben and all other members of the Black Lives Matter group could really help us out to make sure we get this right. And one way of getting it right is to help us differentiate between the kind of things we do, affirmative action, learning discipline, professional development, curriculum addition. We can do all that stuff, but what is going to be the outcome of that? What is the needle and how are we going to move it? It's also been said that we could look at a lot of these things as like independent variables or input variables. We could change the curriculum. We can do professional development. We can hire more diverse faculty members. But in the end, what is it that we're trying to do? If the needle is going to move on us attacking racism, what does it look like when we've used all these factors, and what happens? Okay, so you could help us out a lot on that to say, if very quickly, I mean, if the terms independent and dependent variables make sense to you, everything we've talked about or doing are like independent variables. What is the factor that is dependent upon that? What are we trying to move? What are we trying to improve? What is the indicator if we adopted a board plan that said we're really tackling racism? At the end of a year, we could go back and say, we did these 4 things as suggested, but here's what really happened, and here's how we know we got it right, because this is how the needle moved on this particular topic or set of topics.
Yeah. And the time frame of when you're measuring is critical too. So that's a very.
And that could also be a topic that the policy group takes up.
Yep.
That are just, we're going to do these 4 things, but what is it we're trying to impact? What's going to happen? How do we know we got it right?
Okay, good. Anybody else? So I think we've gotten that, and thanks for everybody's engagement on that. I think that I guess the other thing that we need to do, Jeff, is we need to again, and I don't want to pressure at the point that Jamie raised about meeting face to face. We should think about whether or not we should be polling again to see where we're at the 28th.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay, so that concludes the discussion and action items for the evening. Jeff, administration reports, anything else that you want to?
Yeah, a couple of, my light keeps popping off of here. A couple of things. Negotiations. I know we just talked about Paris, but we are in the midst of starting up custodial negotiations. I think we have, and I could not remember. Were 2 of you part of custodial negotiations? Candace, were you doing it again? Okay. Yes. Who was our other board member that was doing custodial negotiations? It used to be Barbara Senjus who always did it, but I don't know. We might need another one. We should.
Bill's got his hand up.
Oh, who was it? Bill?
That's me.
Okay. All right. Great. So Candace and Bill. All right. Custodial negotiations. Also starting up is administrator negotiations. So I need 2 board members for administrator negotiations as well. So Kate's got her hand up. And does anybody else want to do administrative?
I think I'm on the group.
Yeah, we have those. I don't have the list in front of me, Jeff, but we have all of those are defined in.
Did we define the negotiation specifically?
Absolutely. Yep.
Let me go back and check, because I know.
Yeah, let's dig that out.
Yeah, I think Jill and I were both on the administration.
And I think that's right. I don't have it with me.
I'll go back and pull it with Jackie just to make sure, because we've had some.
Jackie's already sent out emails about the August 11th meeting.
That's for custodians. Yeah, we're all set there.
Oh, that's custodians?
Yeah, that's custodians.
Okay, and now I'm confused because I was on the administration.
No, there was one sent out for administration as well.
We're working on. I'll check, but let me check and pull the document with Jackie tomorrow.
Now I'm confused.
We'll let you know if and take care of it that way. So that's perfect. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so those 2 are starting up. The other thing too with administrative negotiations, I have to formalize it. I'll send the letter down to the town, to the Board of Finance, inviting them if they want to partake in the administrative negotiations. Same thing we do with teachers. We're allowed to have one of the Board of Finance members if they want to join us beyond the committee. So I'll be taking care of that. Sent you a brief update end of last week. High school principal, we're still working that process. Tomorrow afternoon is round 2 of interviews for the remaining candidates. We are on site with half of the committee, and the other half of the committee, is off site and zooming in. So we are trying to, we're moving that direction of being on site for things. So that's taking place. You heard from Scott Mahon. The district calendar is still on hold. We're going to have to end up having a special board meeting between now, and probably August to talk about the high school principal position, final candidate, as well as the district calendar. So we will need a special board meeting. So we'll look at that as well. And just quick, kindergarten enrollment, we can just don't want to forget about that. We're still kind of watching those numbers. Niantic Center is currently sitting at 36, Libby Haynes 41, and Flanders 46. Not all of those in those numbers have officially submitted all their paperwork, but those are the ones that are in the pipeline, and many have already completed their entire packets for registration. So just want to get those numbers out to you. I think that's it. That's all I have.
Amy, do you have anything to add?
Just really quick, I want to let you know, out of the 417 devices that we gave out to students, we still have 57 that have not been returned, but we have gotten all the rest. We are tackling those by working individually with families and setting up convenient times, especially around parent work schedules, as parents are, back in the workforce or might be back in different environments. So we are working to get those. I just want to acknowledge I am knee deep in the committee work and working with that group in particular for the last 2 weeks, but in particular this week. So that really continues to be my focal point. And obviously I'm involved with Jeff on the hiring of 2 principals in a pandemic, as we like to call it. And then just the third piece in regards to the students, thank you for sort of coming back and being part of the solution and taking informed action. It's a lot of pride in seeing students give their personal time as adults to come back and feed the society that you're part of. So I have a lot of admiration for you for that. So thank you very much for that. And we look forward to holding ourselves accountable to implementing some of those changes and actually being a partner with you in the work. So that's great. So thank you very much. But that's about it for me.
Good. Okay. Mariana, anything from the finance side?
Sure. Anna signed the contract, I believe, last week with Munis. So we'll be moving forward with that. I'm very excited about that. Pat and I met with the company that will be hosting our server today. So we will start the process of, getting it installed and connectivity, and then we'll start the implementation. And then Stacy and I are working on time and attendance, and hopefully we will have that up and running before the start of the school year. If not live, then not far after that, we'll be live with that. So that is very exciting, and that's about it. And I updated you on the grants, unless anyone has any other further questions on that.
Okay, good. Okay, that brings us, let's see, there are no committee reports. And so that brings us again to board comments and future agenda topics. And we've kind of nailed that one, I think, pretty much. Is there anything else that people would like to, Jamie's got her hand up.
So I know I'm not the only parent guilty of this, but a lot of parents have missed whatever email went out at the end of the school year about returning school books. Because I've got a stack of them here. And I know a couple other parents that do too. Can we maybe shoot out some kind of message to parents about how we return these books back to the school?
Which level are you referencing, Jamie?
All the levels.
All right. Yep, because I know the high school.
Library books, school books.
Yeah.
A bunch of other parents have been asking about how they're supposed to be returning them too. Is there system in place, or are we just dropping them off on the first day of school? When
Well, you know what, we might need to set up another day for parents because we had a couple days that each school had set up for drop-offs. So
and
maybe,
I think the problem with that was when it was the parents were working.
okay, so we'll look to maybe push out another date then to get another drop-off period.
Can I just chime in quickly, Jeff, that at least both at Haynes and at the middle school, they consistently have a box or a cart outside of the building every day that says.
Is it out like after parents get out of work?
Well, it's out from 8 to 4 because they wheel it in basically at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, it is outside during the business day.
We'll probably have to set something up for like an evening, like, you know, or an early morning. Maybe some parents on their way to work want to drop it off.
Maybe.
We work on that, Jamie. With the,
I just know a lot of parents miss the email. I'm guilty of it too. I'll throw myself in there. I don't know if I even saw the email, but I know a lot of parents have a lot of school books still in their homes and they don't know what to do with them.
Maybe it'll help to recapture a couple of the devices still that we're still missing as well. So maybe we'll kind of combine.
That's my only thing.
Yep. Kate?
Just to be clear, we're having Black Lives Matter on the agenda and then also the Be Smart program.
For our next meeting,
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just say you would like to have those on our next agenda?
I'm requesting that we have those two items, Black Lives Matter and Be Smart safety program on our next agenda, please.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Comments? Just thank everybody for great, very good meeting. I think things went well. I also just want to acknowledge the enormous effort that the administrative team and of course the teaching staff and everybody's putting in, but Jeff, Amy, Mariana, Kim, I mean, you know, you guys are knocking yourselves out here. I have spent lots of time arguing with Jeff about him and his vacation schedule. So we really appreciate the effort that you're putting in. So, okay. So with that, anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Who would like to second that? Kate, I saw your hand go up. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We will be talking shortly.